Saturday, and I'm gonna sing a song for you. I'm sorry, really, only like 2 of you know what that was referencing. Apologies. Who's in the chat today? We got Josh Holiday. Happy Saturday, Josh. Woohoo, it's that time from Live Society. Acidat is in the house. Stereo Decor is here. And our fearless leader, Max Wild. It's showtime! I'm sorry, I'm feeling a little cheesy today, apparently. I love it. We're listening to this dark, moody techno music, and I'm like singing songs and hamming it up. I love it. It's the contrast. It's juxtaposition that keeps it interesting, I should hope. Hey, Scromantis. Nice to have you back. Low-key start for today. Let's get into it. Ooh, I just noticed something. Okay, I screwed it up, guys. Let's just go into it. What's up, everybody? I don't even know if you even heard what I just said, because you might remember, since we're starting off on the wrong foot, we're just gonna interrupt the introduction just to say, you might remember last week I was testing out the new camera position and the new mic setup, and guess what I forgot to do? I forgot to switch the mic back. So you just heard me like through the wrong mic. So I'm not. Did you guys even hear what I just said? Skirmantis is saying, it's okay. I appreciate that. Thank you that it's okay. Coco from Barcelona is here. Another new name. Very nice. Yes, and that's right. You guys had the wrong mic, and I should have just not even said anything about it because maybe it didn't matter. So here we are. It's Techno Saturday. Glad to have you here. It's I think it's pretty much our last one for the year. We're coming up on the holidays and the new year, and yeah, we've got... everybody's busy. Everybody's running around doing things. You know, we're wrapping up our first quarter of the 1-year program, and all the students are preparing and submitting their milestone projects. So yeah, courses are wrapping up. Our mentors are checking in with our mentees, and at the same time, we're doing all this work and juggling all these things. We're all getting ready for the holidays and what's going on over the next couple of weeks. So yeah, lots going on. And I'm really glad that our guest today, who we'll bring on in a moment, had the time to come back and hang out with us. So I know he's got a busy schedule and is doing lots of things. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Who else here is coming into the chat that's new? Machine PCM. Hi from the UK, first-time chatter. Welcome. Glad to have you part of the crew here. Muo is here. And I think we already said hi to Live Society, but thanks for welcoming our new members here in the chat. That's great. So, Max Wild, what's up? How you doing? I'm not saying anything. I'm just wiggling suggestively. You love it when I sway, right? Enough about that. All right. Anyway, bringing it back down to earth. If you haven't checked out what we do in terms of our classes that are coming up, we're still signing people up for some classes. We've got early bird discounts going on. I always try to make note of my Making Techno course. Max, if you're listening, how are the signups going for the Making Techno course, right? I haven't seen the numbers yet, but I definitely would love to have some of you regular guys who are especially regular viewers, you know, that are part of the community to sign up. Take the Making Techno course. It's online. It's 3 times a week over 2 weeks, and we make techno. You know, it's beginner oriented, but I think also we can stretch out, and if you have a little bit more experience and you want to get into some details, we can have time for that too. But yeah, I would love to have, especially, you know, anyone who's out there who might be interested, go to the link down below, check out what we've got, check out what what our early bird discounts are for right now, if they're still available, and you know, just think about what you might want to do. And of course, you can find out about our 1-year program as well. There's all sorts of info about that. Our in-person courses in New York City and online, and in Berlin. Sorry. And actually, speaking of Berlin, I'm going to stop stumbling all over myself as I talk, and let's just get into what we're doing today. We have back, not in the studio, but remotely, from Berlin, our good friend Noah Pred. How's it going, Noah? Glad to have you back.
John, it's always a thrill. Thanks for having me again.
I'm glad you think it's a thrill. I feel like I just so jumbled up that intro. I felt like I just went on a little roller coaster ride myself.
That's
sorry you had to hear that.
That's live. That's live streaming for you.
That's streaming when you're by yourself and you don't have like an audio engineer and a video engineer to like make sure you don't mess up while you're presenting. That's what that is.
Showbiz, baby.
We have interns. I should train one of these interns to like be my my stream assistant. I think it's time. It's time to go up a level.
Yeah, you've earned it. You've been doing this for a while, haven't you, John?
Yeah, and it's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun. Except when things go wrong, and then I get embarrassed. I'm like, oh my god, I used the wrong mic. I'm not a professional. Performance anxiety and what is it when you feel like imposter syndrome? That's what it is.
And or also just keeping yourself on your toes.
I'm definitely keeping solo live streaming. Some people are relaxed about it and they go all day or whatever, but like, I'm compacting everything into an hour and it's pretty high energy for me. And it is like tightrope walking a little bit. So yeah. Excellent. So, okay, back to you. You've been on the show before. Longtime viewers will know we like having Noah come on, and you have a company and you develop devices, predominantly Ableton Live centric, Max for Live devices and resources, and you make some amazing stuff, and it's always fun to have you come on and show us some of the new things that you're working on.
Cheers.
So tell us a little bit about what you've got in store for us today.
Yeah, it's always exciting to show new toys. And this is one of the most fun show and tell formats on the techno internet.
Ooh, thank you.
Of which I am aware. And so I'm here for a little techno show and tell today. So yeah, I've had fun showing you my sequencers and things like that. And the latest suite of devices that I concocted and released a month or two ago is a suite of sonification tools. And sonification, what the heck is that? It can sound
what the heck is sonification?
It can sound a little intimidating, but basically, it's a way of turning any kind of real world data set or any data at all into sound or music. And so I've created some tools that allow you to convert any string of numbers representing change over time into either a MIDI sequence or modulation, so you can control your filter cutoff and all that fun stuff with a sequence of data, or even turn it into an oscillator that you can load into a sampler or simpler. And so it's 3 devices. We're going to look at basically extracting sequences and musical ideas from real world data sets. But I thought we could look at just randomly generating some just to get a handle on how these tools work as just a source of creativity. And we are also going to keep ourselves on our toes by doing this all in Live 12, which has been fairly stable, knocking on the wood of my desk. But some of the new Mac stuff is not always cooperative. So
that's good to know. And they're still in beta, to be fair.
To be fair, I don't know if it's even in the public beta yet. Is it? Perhaps? I'm not sure.
They're starting to open it up to more people. I've noticed.
Starting to roll it out.
Yeah, they had their, secret NDA signing, only certain people knew about it, period. And now it's the cat's out of the bag. So yeah. People are signing up for the public beta, and there's probably a wait list or something,
But so in the course of this, maybe we'll get a chance to explore a few fun little
that's a nice bonus. Like Live 12 is definitely, of course, a whole flood of videos about it. Live 12 came out as soon as they announced it, but it's not out yet. And it's good for us to keep digging in, and as we, we're both using the beta to like learn about it and figure out what's working and maybe what isn't. In your case, with Max for Live stuff, and it's great to include that. Nice little bonus. So, shall we get started?
Sure. Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah. Let's get you over onto the stream here. Where is the button? Oh my God. See, this is where I have imposter syndrome. I'm like, I couldn't find the button.
It's easy to get lost. I know how many controls you have over there. It's like basically
sure.
Starship
and I'm going to adjust
the
crop on your camera a little bit because you're like more laid back now than you were earlier. So you're messing up my shot. It's all good. So let's see what you got here.
So yeah, I've got this suite of sonification tools, and I think the easiest one to sort of wrap your head around for starters is the data MIDI. And this allows us to convert any string of numbers up to 2048 in total into a MIDI sequence. And so I can type numbers in here, 23, 42, 55. I could do negative numbers, minus 2, 3, 4. And I'll do a little 77.77 because you have float numbers as well.
Sure.
So that's going to give us a sequence of 5. As soon as I hit enter, it ingests the numbers, and then essentially using an algorithm, it extracts, okay, this is the highest number, I guess 77.77, and then the lowest is obviously minus 2, 3, 4. And then it's going to map those to pitch within this range that I can specify, or I can turn it off and say, actually don't map it to pitch. And so that's what these toggles are for. So velocity can be mapped as well as the length of the notes. So by default, the lower ones will be at C1 and a velocity of 1 and a length of 150. Let's just take a listen. So I've got some randomization here on Meld, which is the new synth. Yep.
Just to roll it back here.
Yes.
Where'd those numbers come from again?
I just typed them in.
So you just made them up. They're just random, out of your mind. No musical value whatsoever. Just some numbers.
No inherent musical value, but they get mapped to this range, and they could be obviously, or maybe not obviously, much more personally meaningful numbers. So they could be your family members' birthdays, or but
it's arbitrary.
It's arbitrary. As are any notes you play into instrument, which eventually do get translated into the same MIDI notes. So these will get extracted to.
If you were to put in numbers that had a pattern, that would be reflected somehow?
Absolutely. So these numbers, this is a pattern. Anything that repeats becomes a pattern, right?
Like you said, you did 77 twice.
That's 77.77.
Okay, sorry, I could.
So that's the fifth
I have my glasses on. I still couldn't see that.
Yeah. So how it works, if you're typing numbers in, for them to be parsed as a separate number, you simply put a space in between them.
Okay.
So a space is how the new number gets started. A dot will allow you to have what are called float numbers. So floating point numbers with long strings of fractions at the end, as many data sets, which you'll soon see, include. But we're getting way too far in the nerdy side of it. Let's just randomize a sequence.
Sure.
So at the bottom, I've got this little dice button, and I have the length of the sequence, the length of the string.
Machine
and the default,
PCM says you could use your lotto numbers.
You could certainly use your lotto numbers.
Any numbers.
Maybe you could use this to generate your lotto numbers.
Oh my gosh.
I'll show you how. But so the trigger is by default going to be 16th notes times 1 divided by 1. That's just a 16th note pattern. We'll leave it at that for now. We can also have it trigger at a millisecond rate or via incoming MIDI notes. So you can actually
so you can play the rhythm by tapping on your keyboard.
Exactly. But so I'll leave it at 16th notes for now. And if we generate a string of 64 16th notes, that's going to be a 4-bar pattern, right? So maybe let's do a 1-bar pattern. Let's just set it to 16.
Okay.
Right. And the depth, that's the resolution of the data. So if I do 1,000, right, all of these are going to end up getting quantized to MIDI note values, which are 0 to 127 anyway. So 1,000 is just the granularity of the data. And so if I hit the random, now we're getting numbers between 0 and 1,000, but the lowest looks like 39.
I see what you mean.
That's going to be mapped to C1, and the highest looks like 903, and that'll get mapped to C5.
Okay.
So let's just take a listen to that real quick before I show a couple other functions.
Let's hear it without the drums first, just so it's real clear what's doing what.
So
that's a happy
gap
little
there with a
pattern.
Short note. Oh yeah. And it's in D minor, apparently.
Depends.
It
I'm not
absorbed the
hearing it as
scaling
minor,
key.
but it all depends on where the back.
Exactly.
It's music. Music theory is not always. What's the word? Obvious or
That's
that
right.
strict, right? There's always that gray area in between keys, musically.
So now that I put it with a root of D and going 2 octaves up, it's sounding a little more minor than with the previous thing.
Oh,
but
yeah. No,
so what's really cool is I
now.
can expand and contract that range of pitches in real time, and even invert it by sliding the higher value below.
I see.
And we can do it from the other side as well. And I'll bring the velocity up. In fact, let's just make them all.
Now you're playing a monophonic sound, and we're hearing some variation in the sound because envelopes are sometimes not re-triggering because the lengths are overlapping. I think that's what's happening.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's a little extra variation happening due to the synth. I mean, you've already made like patterns for like different tracks, like in a second.
Yeah, and so this is the last thing I would show is that we can gate values below or above this threshold,
so they won't
remove them. And so if I just flip this to values below that, then we're just going to hear the low notes.
That's kind of cool because it's like you're inverting what gets gated, so to speak, but it's the same underlying pattern, so they're still related.
That's right.
That's a cool little musical trick. You could do that consciously as a composer. You could write your melody that way, right? But this is easier.
Yeah,
especially if you haven't taken composition in a formal way.
I like, that's fun that you framed it like that. Now we can place that sort of gate cutoff at any value here, but I'm going to disable that and show how it sounds to create a pattern with the minimum depth, which is 2. If it were 1, it would just be a string of numbers, not really a meaningful sequence. But now I can do a string of 2 numbers, which is going to be 0s and 1s.
Ah.
And I'm moving the.
You just changed it to a different style of techno right there.
Exactly. Now, if I hit the gate, now we're only getting the high notes, and if I flip the gate, now we're only getting the low notes.
I'm already thinking like I want the high note to play one instrument and the low note to play another instrument.
And you can do that perfectly with a drum rack or by creative MIDI routing with an instrument rack or by using our included X Relay utility to map note pitches above a certain value to any destination in your set. But yeah, that's exactly the point that I wanted to illustrate with this depth of 2 is you get these instantaneous call and response hyper-rhythmic patterns. So it can be great for generating rhythms.
Yeah.
And, let's do it one more time. I'm going to do 32 steps. So it'll be a 2-bar pattern. And I'm going to introduce a midpoint by setting the depth to 3. And then I click the randomize again.
Okay, let's put the beats on now. I'm like, we're getting somewhere.
So as you expand and contract the range, you get all these really dynamic expressions. Now, I have a bunch of different ways to gate, side, turn it into an arpeggiator, gate it and pause the playback, side chain, pause the playback. We can also, of course, set it to play in reverse or choose random values or cycle forward and back.
We've seen controls like that before on arpeggiators and other step sequencers where you can...
That's right.
So that's pretty typical control over that stream of data.
And we can shorten the length of the loop, which is reflected here in the total count, right? So if I go back to 100%, it's back to 32 steps, and I can seek the start point around. And I can also, similar to all our other devices, add some swing and transpose within the scale and key, and by octave as well. And let's get some roar on there because it is live 12 after all.
So yeah, this is the live 12 part of it here, is that you're using 2 of the new devices. Oh my god. I'm scared now. It's attacking me. So yeah, you've got Roar as the basic, what is it? It's like a multi-channel, multi-mode saturation distortion crazy sound design plugin.
Exactly,
it's a really
yeah.
powerful thing.
Have you played around with it, John?
I have,
and
I
done it
have
on the
played around
video,
with
maybe. Nice.
I haven't made a video yet. We're in the middle of getting that going. We should have you do a polished tutorial on Live 12. What do you say?
Let's see what Max has to say. But yeah, it
I'm
sounds
sure he'd
great.
be into it. And then the synth is oh my god, is Meld.
This is Meld. So
how do you feel about Meld?
Well, it took me a little bit to wrap my head around it, honestly, because the way the filters are routed, for example, the filters are really cool. Like we have these comb filters, as well as these scale-aware plate resonator, membrane resonators, and all of the manifest audio stuff is natively scale-aware as well.
Well, right.
So,
I wanted to mention that earlier, that, and you did, but just pointing out it again, that Live 12 has this global scale that it doesn't have to, but can apply to everything that's scale-aware in your project, be it your clips or your MIDI effects or your instruments that are scale aware. And then, yeah, so Meld has oscillators that will tune when you pitch modulate them, they will tune to the scale, which is amazing. I think that's probably one of the coolest things about it.
As well as these filters are also tuned to the
like
scale.
comb filters that are scale aware. Hell yeah.
Now, I did a whole suite of audio effects called X effects, which we could get into, which are also scale aware. These are scale aware audio effects that you can actually play the melody of your delay time, for example. And that was in Live 11, but they're scale aware in Live 12. So how is this scale aware? All of our devices are like that, so long as they're in this global toggle.
So you were ahead of the game. Did they steal this idea from you, Noah? Did they?
I don't know if the NBA will allow me to speculate, but we we're ahead of the time.
That is completely
for sure.
hearsay. The 343 Labs legal team is chiming in to say we have nothing to do with that statement whatsoever.
Can neither confirm nor deny. But so anyway, I just want to quickly show, as I change this to F, you'll notice this automatically inherited the F there in data MIDI. And then if I change this to our Pelog Celicera, I don't know if I'm butchering the pronunciation, but
you probably are.
Also adopted automatically here in our data MIDI, and probably the sequence is going to sound rather
similar
different.
Actually, because it's in a low bass mode right now. But
this is true. This is true.
I like what we're hearing though.
That roars.
This is the start of an interesting techno track. I like what the roar
it's the membrane resonator is what's causing all that crazy squeakiness. There we go.
I don't know. I liked the crazy squeakiness, but okay, whatever you like.
Wild. Okay.
I feel like, just as an aside, in terms of techno production, I feel like resonator kind of sounds are very modern types of sounds to use at the moment. You know what I mean? Like there's kind of
that
there's a
may
certain,
well be.
I hear that sort of thing more and more, and more than in other genres. I mean, I'm generalizing here. I can't say that for sure, but I do hear certain cutting edge styles of techno will use things like, physical modeling and resonators, and it's a different combination of tones and textures than, say, like your subtractive or even FM. It's more similar to FM because FM can sound very metallic and ringy also, but it has a different vibe. Anyway, that's me just as a sidebar, but back to you.
Physical modeling is definitely coming back into vogue. That's for sure. So I just grabbed our data mod, which allows me to similarly use strings of data to create modulation that can be mapped to eight destinations anywhere in a live set.
And it has the same data.
So what I did is, I'll just do it again so we can see, just Command C, Command V, and then you have to hit enter for it to take. But I could also, let's do this, let's randomize a string of 2048, the maximum.
That's a lot of modulation data.
Okay,
That's
and so
basically noise at that point.
it's going to look like noise, but it's going to repeat. So if you wanted a seemingly noisy sequence that you have some control over repeating in a certain way, and then we could also just shorten the loop to however many steps. And so now we should see a bit of a pattern repeating.
Yeah. Oh,
and this can also be gated to lower or higher values, just the same. And we can change the rate, so we can do 2 16th notes or divide it by 3. That'll be a weird value. You can also have it triggered by MIDI in. And if I switch it to bins mode, it's going to quantize every value above 50% to maximum and below 50% to minimum.
That's
like
good.
That. So there are a lot of different ways to play around with all this. But I think maybe it's time to stop looking at the randomizers and perhaps explore grabbing some actual data.
Yeah, good idea. And should we do a new element? Like make a new part for our... Oh my gosh, who am I? What's going on here? You've got me...
Whoa, there we go.
Yeah, you got...
it's Selwayception. We
That's
heard
right.
you liked Selway, so we put some Selway in your
You
Selway.
leave that on there long enough and it'll start repeating. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so I've got two data sources we can use. One of them is our world in data. It's designed for people looking to explore data sets. They have fairly reliable information in a variety of fields. And that was kind of what drove me to explore creating these devices. Is there was an art project, an audiovisual project I was doing that was released in the form of a audiovisual release for Refraction DAO in June of this year. And I wanted to create these tools to extract audio and musical ideas from data sets about climate.
Okay.
And the idea, so, you know, the core idea of sonification is to make data intelligible for particularly the visually impaired, in fact.
Okay.
And so it's like infographics make us able to digest data sets more easily. Sonification is originally designed to help with that as well.
Yeah, that's
but there's
amazing.
a lot of arguments about, you know, remaining neutral and who decides what neutrality is in the form of sonification.
Well,
but
and
for me,
one thing I thought of is people have done things with sonification for music or for sound design or for science in the past. There's always these viral posts where there'll be some kind of, like this is what a black hole sounds like or something like that, you know? And then, so you're taking this NASA data or this, you know, about a star or a planet or whatever, and it's up, the human decides what it sounds like. It's not actually an audible frequency. And like, where is, you know, and it's also, you could say it could be said for when they take radio telescope images and then enhance them to look interesting for humans. Like, is that accurate? Is that really what it looks like if we saw it with our own eyes? Like, it's kind of a similar problem where you're sonifying something that wasn't sound. Like,
exactly.
So it's kind of somewhat arbitrary. Yeah.
No matter what, there are arbitrary decisions being made. Even if you represent a sound in pure unquantized frequency, that's still, I think, there are arbitrary decisions being made there. So,
to bring that around into what you're doing, you're taking data and sonifying it, but we're deciding how it sounds. Like it is arbitrary also.
It is arbitrary, and I'm embracing that arbitrariness so that people can use these tools creatively as a source of inspiration rather than feeling like they need to express these data sets in a chromatic scale, which you can, of course, or, you know, you don't need to be a slave to the data, as it were. Right. You can use it creatively as a seed of an idea in which you are able to maybe just find a new source of a creative idea on the one hand.
I think that's the first main thing is, it's just a new creative idea. It's opening doors to new ideas.
And this is the impetus behind all my development, is trying to find new pathways into creative ideas. But on the other hand, it opens the opportunity, even if you don't express the data like totally faithfully, whatever
Mm-hmm.
that might mean, to embed some engagement with political or just, let's say, non-musical ideas in otherwise instrumental music, which can
Sure.
be hard to do aside from field recordings, which can be brilliant or a little on the nose sometimes, depending on how they're deployed. But this is another pathway into exploring those concepts, and whether it yields ideas you're happy with or not. I mean, I think if you know how to manipulate the tools I've begun to demonstrate, you can make almost anything sound interesting, and that can also raise some possible important discourse around,
Okay.
do you want to, for example, sonify tragic civilian drone casualties through a major
Right. There's
scale or
another meaning
something,
there of like what the data is from. The data might have social ramifications, political ramifications, emotional, uh, like there's that's where for art the conceptual stuff around the art and the meaning of the data could go pretty, well, extremely deep, couldn't it?
Yeah. Well, here I am on this biodiversity page, and the reason I went there because I'd never been there before, and I was hoping there would be some more volatility in the data. And here's one thing you learn as you get into sonification, as I only have this year, is that a lot of data sets are basically just giving you ramp up or ramp down shapes, which is not,
Right. Which
which can
is
be
like an
cool.
LFO. It's
Yeah.
like it's a sawtooth wave or a
But
sine
so
wave, which
one
is
of the
interesting in itself in
reasons,
a way.
yeah, but it's not, if you're using it for the sequencer for melodies, you're
That's
not
not so
going to,
interesting.
that's not so
So
interesting.
you're looking for data that works for melodies, is what you're saying.
Well,
Kind of.
it demonstrates the value of volatility in the
Uh-huh.
context of repurposing data for artistic purposes. And that's why I have the basketball reference page open as well, because while I would prefer to make, music about some more interesting topic,
Mm-hmm.
sports statistics, or also if you go to Yahoo Finance, they have historical financial data, or maybe NASA also could give some data that would be more along these lines where there's more continued variance,
Mm.
right? It's not just a ramp up or a ramp down, but when you're looking at some of these more particularly environmental issues, you get a lot of ramp up or ramp down. That'll be true in the innovation and technological change as well when we get into like access to internet, for example. So let's
Sure.
just try this. Look, that's a bunch of ramp up shapes, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, let's dig in and try and grab one anyway, at least just so I can. Okay, so the North America one at least has a little up and down there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how does this work? How the heck am I going to sonify this? This is the other reason I wanted to make these tools, because there were ways to sonify data, but they involved a lot of workarounds, or maybe even you needed some kind of coding background. But what I can
Okay.
do is just click download here as a CSV, which a CSV is the most basic form of spreadsheet. And if I double click, it's going to open my Word
Mm-hmm.
editor, which I use the free LibreOffice, and it says, okay, how do I want to delimit this? Yeah, by comma. Okay, good. And I'll open it up, and we're going to get a spreadsheet, which isn't that what we all want to do? Make techno from spreadsheets. At the end of the day, let's be
I don't
honest.
know about that. No.
Come on, you open live session view. It's a spreadsheet.
I have joked about that. We
No,
did
no, no.
a workshop or master class here recently, and I was giving a little beginner demonstration on the session view, and I said, yeah, it's like a spreadsheet. You've got columns and rows. So yeah, totally.
So I was looking for, okay, so here's the world access. North America was the one with variants, but I can't see the North America column here. I'm gonna try and do a Command F. That should be enough. Okay, there we go, North America. So let's sonify the North American internet access from 1990 to 2020.
Nice.
How am I going to do that? I'm just going to shift select this range of cells, Command C, and then go back into Ableton Live, and I'll just Command V, paste it over our previous baseline, and hit enter. And it happens to be 31 steps. So what I could do is tell it to reset every 1 bar to make it, it's going to play the first step twice, I guess. Let's take a listen. I'll disable the data mod.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
for now.
That's going to be extra complicated. Let's hear what it sounds like.
Yeah, I'll just remove the mapping.
Uh-oh. Internet is acting up right now. Dropping out a little bit.
Oh, really?
That's okay. Seems to be stabilizing again.
Okay, so let me... Oh, it's only looping the first bar. So let me go back and set the reset to 2 bars.
Let's hear the in a higher octave.
Yeah, it's down to... That's pretty funky, actually.
It is, and okay, it's funky because of the drums and the swing, but also the data's providing us with a melody that has progression. It doesn't sound random at all.
That's right.
I think that's probably the main point, in a way, is of when you're taking that data that has that kind of structure that you're looking for, is that it's not just going to be, because one thought I've had is, what's the point of using data to do whatever random thing? Because you could just we already can generate random or pseudo-random sequences very easily, and there are many tools to do so. So what's the point? But if the data has structure, then the music has structure. And that's where this, and then what we were just talking about in terms of like where the data comes from and the meaning and all of that, then it becomes really interesting conceptually, and then in terms of your musical result. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. No, that really is the purpose. As I show earlier, we can randomize within the tool. So if you just want random, it's right there. So what's the point of that? The point is to find data in the real world that gives musical structure, as you say. I couldn't have said it better, in fact.
I also like this as an idea in terms of composition, using this as a composition tool. If you take the same data set to use it to generate multiple musical ideas, so they're all related underneath, right? You can process them, you can change them, you can modify them using the tool, the other, things inside of this plugin. But like just taking this same set of data and adding another layer to I'm trying to get you to add another instrument.
Well, what I'm going to do before we add one more instrument, which is definitely the next plan, is let's, I don't want to waste more time on the website. So let's just grab another string of numbers here.
Okay.
And let's take the Nigerian internet access for some reason, because the reason is it's easy to hand, and copy and paste that here and hit enter. And it's prior to it. And this is set to receive pitch in. So now this sequence will transpose this one. Now, if they're both at 16th notes, that's not going to be so interesting. But if I set this... The first one
is going to be slower, right?
Well, that's what I want to do, is set it to a slower interval of just a whole note or 1 bar. And so let's... Yeah, I don't know what the appropriate range is here. We're in this F Palog scale. So anyway, let's just see how that goes.
Starting very low.
No need to...
It's also starting with zeros.
Down. Yeah.
So nothing should be happening, probably.
So the zeros are down here at C1, exactly. Yeah. And then these are very close to 0. So it's going to take a few bars for us to...
increase the depth, maybe? To get more variation between all those fractions? Was it almost decimals?
Yeah, I'll just increase the pitch range there.
I hear what it's doing.
Yeah. And
Open up the filter a little bit on that sound. It's very dark.
Yes.
As it gets higher, we're going to lose it. Or maybe change a different... Oh, there we go.
So
And it's going up and up a little bit.
Exactly. So this is almost through the sequence. It's almost the maximum Nigerian internet access. Okay, now we're back at 0. So, and this is just to illustrate that we can build dynamic musical relationships out of interactions between different sets of data. So it's about the hyper nerdiest stuff we could get into, but I know that you want to make
this whole show, it's always hyper nerdy.
Okay.
Own
so I am going to use data effects, and before we make our next sound with it, I'm going to grab another string here. North Korean internet access, just straight zeros.
Luminous Cloud is saying you're all talking business techno with spreadsheets and finance data.
That's right. That's right.
You could make real business techno with real business and finance numbers.
Exactly.
You could have like economic techno.
So now I'm
geopolitical economy techno.
That's right. So I'm using the Macedonian internet from the same spreadsheet as a wave folding distortion and convolution. And the spectral filter is one of the things that... Oh no, it is working. Okay, great. Yeah, in the previous beta of Live 12, the FFT filter object in Max wasn't cooperating, but now it's in there. So
maybe they fixed it.
It seems like they have, which is wonderful. So I'm using this waveform, or this soon to be a waveform, this data set to impose a wave folding distortion, a spectral filter, and a convolution impulse response.
Okay.
But I can redraw and edit it here. And I think it might be even more interesting to, well, no, let's repaste it in. I'm going to repaste it in so we get a faithful one. And now what I can do is select my audio format, 24 or 16-bit AIFF or WAVE, and I will now save it to, yeah, this is today's current project. Yep. Okay, and let's call it Internets. Okay, cool. So now I will go ahead and grab myself an instance of our beloved Simpler. And if I go to the current project, there's internets.aiff.
So you made a waveform out of data.
Exactly. And there it is.
Oh my gosh.
And it's going to sound like nothing. It's going to sound like a click.
Oh yeah.
Because it's so short.
It's one cycle.
It's one cycle,
one
and
wavelength.
and that wavelength is only made of 31 samples.
Oh my gosh.
So when I turn the looping on, it's going to be really high pitched. So I'm going to bring the volume down, and I'm going to make sure I play a lower.
Okay. You got something like a down-sampled sawtooth.
Well, and we can see in the shape, it's like a slightly irregular ramp up.
Yeah, which is what a sawtooth is. It's a ramp.
Yep, it's a ramp up, not a ramp down, but it's a ramp nonetheless with a few little curvy bits.
I would think it's going to take a lot of trial and error with different types of data, different amounts of data to get interesting variations in waveforms.
Certainly. But we can also make our own, which I'll demonstrate in a moment. So, let me just see here. I want to get a tuner on there. See if the tuner is cooperating.
No, this is a lesson from sound design class. Synthesis and sound design class is how to tune samples when you're building a sample-based instrument.
Exactly. So I got a tune. I'm playing a C, so I want it to output a C.
Yeah.
So I just transposed it down, and let's detune it up 29 cents. Hey!
I love it. And that is how you tune a sample.
Beauty. Okay, now we've got internets. I believe, let me just double check. North Macedonian internets, to be exact, is our new little techno sound. And let's go ahead and get another data MIDI on there, because that's what we're doing today, isn't it? And should we randomize it or get another sequence? What's the move?
Well, I mean, we were talking before about using the same set of data to generate different parts that are related. So could do that.
Yeah,
or you could do something new.
Actually, let's do that. I'm going to grab that North Macedonian
I love that you've
sequence.
got Macedonian, this data for Macedonia. I was just remembered that I knew a guy who was a rave promoter back in the 90s and also became a booking agent and worked with some huge DJs back in the day. And then he was from Macedonia, and he ended up being like CEO of a company called Invest in Macedonia.
Oh, wow.
And, he was working at a very high level in terms of like working with big corporations and government and getting money invested in Macedonia. And I bet you he's got some good data.
We could get on the horn. So what I did with this one is I decided I want to play it in reverse because that bass line is giving us a nice up ramp. Maybe this one in contrast could go down. Exactly.
Well, that's I mean, that's just a straight up good musical idea to use in composition anyway, is to have patterns going opposite each other, inverse of each other.
And so a little gate on there.
What a nice, pleasant vibe we got going on today. I love it.
Probably give it the same gate. That Pelog scale really works nice. The Pelog Celestier or whatever. Okay, we don't need the tuner, obviously. And got some reverb on there. I'm going to loop that transposition sequence because it's getting a little too high.
Right?
Yeah, so I'm just going to loop that 50%, just take the first half. Okay, so let's make one more sound. I want to look at...
No, you're making happy techno.
Hey.
It's possible.
They said it couldn't be done.
It's not easy. Mostly people want to hear those darker, more serious modes and scales, right? There's lots of dissonance in techno.
Indeed. So I can randomize the data, and I want a more rich waveform. So I'm going to switch to the random mode here. And let's make the maximum length, maximum depth. So this one, the other two, the data mod, data MIDI can do 2048 strings. This can only do 512 samples.
Ah! What just happened? What was that?
So I randomized all these data values to the spectral filter.
Oh, it's a spectral filter
and the wave folding distortion. Dude. And the convolution reverb.
I just realized I am in the way of this. I need to move my camera out of the way so people can see what you're doing.
So what I want to do is I randomized these samples in the middle, but the start is going to have, I'm just drawing in here clumsily drawing in. I want it to go from 0 and then, no, you know what? I'm doing this all over again. I can clear the whole sequence. Let's randomize it again. And what I'm trying to do is create an interesting oscillator from scratch. So it's going to be a ramp down with a bunch of noise in the middle and then ramp back up. So let's try, I'm going to call it Rando. So Rando. And that should also be in our current project, which will require, there it is. Okay, good. Going to require another simpler. And this one might be more tricky to tune with all that noise in there, but let's see how it goes.
Sure.
And look at that.
Oh.
So you can also...
I have to move again. That's just noise.
It is.
But I'm looking at the 0. Oh my goodness. I feel like this needs some editing because look at what's going on with the onset of that, like where the zero crossings are. That's like, what is that's going to be noise, and then it's going to be
freaking out.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I mean, we could fine tune the drawing and get in there a little more purposefully.
Like in the plugin itself, in the device itself, can you apply crossfades ahead of time? Like, can you?
No, it's straight up just the data values. So you're just. And so this one, whoops, there's that little guy down there that I could, there we go. try and smooth these out. And
oh, I see. If I might make a
so it'd be nice to
suggestion.
expand this view. Yeah.
Well, not just to
Please.
expand the view, but if you just added a little button that like does some math and like smooths out the zero crossings at the end, so it does, where it loops or interpolates interpolates it, so it. I mean, that kind of you're changing the data at that point, but
That's a great idea to have that as an option.
Feature request.
A little checkbox next to the save. You've had some very astute feature requests in the past, John. Might I say,
thank you.
Which I've gone ahead and implemented. So
Oh,
that's a good one. I have to
I am
figure out
honored.
some averaging there
you.
to get it happening. But let's try this one.
Uh-huh.
I'll call it a less rando and see if that's any more fun. Okay, less rando. How are you?
I'm having fun making my camera fly around. Oh, see, that's it's still buzzy, but it's that's good. It's a little cleaner than it was before, where it loops.
The tuner is going to hate this. Let me tell you.
Oh no, tuner wants clean, clear, one frequency, one identifiable.
It won't even register this as a tone.
Oh, it does. It did.
Hey,
amazing.
Wow. Okay, that's exciting because tuner has not been cooperative.
So I want to point out to everybody that might not realize this is the frequency of that note we're hearing is a result of the length of that loop, right? So
that is filthy.
The tone of the sound is mainly coming from the data. The frequency of the pitch we're hearing is coming from the length of that loop, that individual sample that's repeating at a certain rate. So we're generating an audible waveform by looping a very short sample.
And filtering it like a madman.
Okay. Well, subtractive synthesis always, right?
Indeed. So, yeah. Listen, how much longer is our session today, John?
Time flies when we're having fun with Noah Pred.
I want to make sure there's
2. It is almost 2. It's 1:53. We've officially got 8 minutes left, so we can do whatever you want to do.
I just want to make sure there's time for any questions that might come in.
This is good. And you know what? You know what? Let's pause for a moment and come back to Ask Noah. This is the segment where we wow, I'm too small. I've just made myself too small. There I am. I know there's some questions. I'm going to go back. Luminous Cloud had a question for you. This is unrelated to what you're talking about, but you're a Max for Live expert, so I'm going to throw it at you. And he is asking if you can recommend a bread and butter virtual analog synth that's a Max for Live device. And I didn't come up with anything right away. Most synths I know that are Max for Live synths are like pretty wacky and out there and experimental. Are there any like just good sounding, simple virtual analog subtractive synths for Max for Live that you're aware of? And if there isn't, is that something you might consider doing?
Well, there are some like, was it the Creative? I'm trying to find them right now in the library.
Yeah, I mean, I've looked.
Poly is made with Max for Live.
Oh yeah, that Poly is an official Ableton Max for Live.
And it's basically a Juno 106 emulation.
Oh, let's show it. Do you want to show it?
And it sounds great. So, oops, that's our
I mean, duh. See, why didn't I remember that? That's like 101. That's Max for Live 101.
Okay, so we got our saw and our pulse, just like on the Juno. You can fade your saw wave, you can fade your pulse wave. It's actually got cross modulation between the two of them, like you might have on the MKS30, for example. We've also got our sub and our noise oscillator. The sub oscillator with the sine or sawtooth wave, and that sub oscillator is also again what gives the 101 and the Juno 106. A lot of it's a rich harmonic tone. Okay, but of course it's got some nice rich filters, which the sub can be sent to or not, because you may or may not want to high pass the sub.
Right.
Again, the dedicated high pass, a nice feature from the Nice modulation
Mm-hmm.
target here, LFO, all that stuff. And then here we have the 3-mode Juno chorus. Hey. So
That
that's a
sounds
great
very
one.
Juno-y.
If you're looking for a great pad, great bass, Roland analog emulation
I'm a
made
little
with
embarrassed
Max
I
for
forgot
Live.
about that, Noah.
Hey, you know what, John? There are too many plugins out there. You cannot be expected to remember them all at all times.
Right.
This was a very specific request
It
from
is.
Luminous Cloud.
That is right.
And the ring modulation and whatnot is adding some other fun features.
Yeah, it does a
and we've
couple
got
things that the Juno
detuning.
can't do. All right, so that's good.
Exactly.
I'm hoping there's some other questions from other people. I need to look down the chat, but I have one more from Luminous Cloud, which I think is a really good question. Back to what you're doing with your devices: is does all of this work in Push 3?
Okay, so all of our devices work in Push 3. Yeah,
They do. Fantastic.
They do.
That's
they
great.
do. They work in Push 3 standalone. However, what you
Caveat.
cannot do, which should be somewhat obvious, is add data to. You can randomize the data, but you can't do anything else with the data. So if you get the data how you like it here from a data set, make sure you save that data as a preset, or it'll be stored with a live set as well. Just make sure that data is in place before you bring it onto Push 3. Because obviously you can't be copying and pasting from spreadsheets on Push 3. Push 3 doesn't run.
So you got to do the work of
spreadsheet
getting
software,
the data
which
on the
is
computer and then bring it into Push 3 to play with it.
Yeah, but once it's in the data devices, Push 3 will read it perfectly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So back to the virtual analog. That was a good suggestion. I think he says he was thinking about with something with more complex modulation possibilities, I guess. But then
it's got this here, but then
you can make that for yourself using other Max for Live devices.
Like everything is modulatable. But if you want one with amazing modulation, I must recommend Max for Cats. Kristen Kleine has this Bengal virtual modular synth. It's pretty amazing. Everything he does is pretty amazing, and a lot of it's on that tip of virtual analog in Max. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's actually one of the developers behind Poly. But
makes sense. They do feature Max for Cats pretty heavily on Ableton.com, so you might.
Yeah, and I believe he does some work there, or at least did at one point, if not still. Any questions about the sonification stuff? I might be able to about the process behind it, or
I haven't seen any. I'm looking at the chat, so we'll just throw that out there if anybody had before we have to wrap it up in just a moment. If you guys have any specific questions about the sonification stuff.
Meanwhile, here's a code for everyone.
Oh my goodness! Look at this.
If you're interested in this stuff or anything else,
actually, I can add that into the chat maybe. But let's make that bigger for everybody. And I move it over to the left because your picture's covering it up. Put it over where the browser is. Noah's offering a 20% discount off of anything from Manifest Audio until the end of the year. Techno Saturday 2023. I'm going to put that into the chat as well.
Perfect.
So if you guys want to dive into the amazing world of Noah Pred and Manifest Audio, now is your chance to get it for a good price. And there's a lot of amazing free devices on there too. If you're not ready to spend money,
that's true.
You can definitely get your feet wet, or more than that, because the free stuff is great.
So I actually started
put that
doing
back
the
up
sonification
again.
stuff.
Keep that up on the
Okay, but I need to grab something from the browser.
Oh, okay, one second.
I'll put it somewhere in the middle it'll disappear when I
Techno Saturday. I just can't talk and type at the same time. I think that's what the problem is. Techno Saturday 2023.
All caps.
It's in the chat officially now.
Beauty.
You can move it.
Okay. So, speaking of free sonification devices, I thought it would be cool to have a modulator that can create basically a sine wave, because that's what most orbits are. There are no sawtooth orbits of planets. And so all the rates are corresponding to the different bodies in our solar system.
I love it.
And then you can choose the orbit or rotation. Now it's not doing anything because it needs an instance of Cosmos. And Cosmos is what tells all these devices to maintain the same relative rate.
I love this concept. It's so fun.
The relative
planetary
rate
orbits
corresponds to 1 Earth day. If 1 Earth day is 1/16th note, then the one orbit of the moon, which is 656 hours, would correspond at this rate to 3.08 seconds. But you'll see if I double this to 2/16th notes, then it becomes 6 seconds.
Noah, if you have time, we're gonna have to. Yeah, I was gonna say we're gonna have to go long and demonstrate this. And I have another specific question about the sonification after this. Just don't let me forget.
Okay, no problem. So I've got the orbit of the moon mapped to the send D to my little slap echo. For some reason, it was just handy. And I'll go ahead and grab another one just so we can see. I'll grab a bunch more and put them all on the same track so we can
see the relationship,
how the different orbits appear differently. So let's go ahead and map. Well, let's just get a filter on whatever this channel is.
Like Jeff Mills should do another like X101 project and use these.
I love it.
Like the rings of Saturn and all that stuff, right? Like it's just perfect.
Let's go ahead and get the
it's
roar
so
going.
Techno, Noah.
Use this to
all of
let's
this.
see. Oh, I'm on an audio track with nothing on it. Well, that's great actually, because the roar, I believe, can generate audio. Oh, feedback mode.
Do I have to move again?
I'm just trying to get some
go
sound out of the feedback there.
I'm gonna get out of the way of all these devices.
Anyway, okay, we've got Earth orbit, Moon orbit. Let's do Earth rotation. So this is sort of a medium sine wave. Here's a long one, 41 seconds, 3 seconds, and here it is, 13 seconds for the rotation of the Earth. We do the rotation of Uranus. Don't anybody make any silly jokes. It's actually faster.
We're all grown-ups here.
And it's in the opposite direction because Uranus is in retrograde. That's right. Yeah, so it's minus 81 milliseconds, minus 17 hours is how I chose to represent that. Now we can affect the wave shape in a few different ways, but let's go to Saturn even faster. Let's do the orbit of Saturn. Much longer.
Yes.
Much longer. 258, 221 hours. This gives us 1,200 seconds. I don't know what that is in hours. But yeah, so it's all about these embedded relationships, which of course can be mapped to up to 8 targets per device. And again, if I change the base rate here, and well, that's crazy. I've never mapped. I've mapped the base rate
planet to a planet.
I've mapped the rate of all the planets to one planet. So yeah, I guess the orbit of Earth is now going to control everything. No, that's not what I wanted. I just wanted to shorten it. Map this to the bias, and it'd be nice if we had some audio going through here. So I'll just set it to receive.
Getting weird. No, it's good. I'm glad we by the end of the session, getting just a little bit crazy. That's good.
Oh, whoops. Set to receive in from the wrong track.
Still sound good though. Happy accident. Oh, I see what you're doing. So you're using roar to resonate now, right?
Yeah, I'm using the feedback circuit.
Ow!
Ooh.
God. Please stop.
I could not apologize more. That was horrendous. But if I just
it's okay.
bring it up a touch.
We're not afraid of danger here on Techno Saturday. As long as we keep our viewers wearing headphones, not losing their hearing, that's,
Speak to that legal department again. Yeah, okay, it's a spicy one.
That one needs a limiter after it.
Wow. Yeah, it needs a limiter built in. So I think I can sidechain it.
Look at that.
I think this is the sidechain.
I see.
The amount. Wow. Well, it only took me 66 minutes to commit.
This is a random question
Everlasting
for
hearing
most people,
damage.
but for me it's very, very funny for a particular reason. But Luminous Cloud is like asking if it can channel Rudolf Steiner.
Oh.
You know who that is?
I have a vague recollection.
An anthroposophist who he started a school and...
Is it the biodynamics guy?
Yeah, that stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
He's definitely into cosmic planetary
Indeed.
things. I went to, just full disclosure, I went to a Waldorfschule.
Wow.
Yeah, in
That's
America.
Is that why you're so cool?
That's why I'm so cool. That's right.
So I'm going to give everyone a sneak peek of something that's not ready for prime time yet. It might be a little buggy.
Uh-oh.
But it will be a free update to owners of the sonification tools. I've got
new material.
A data MIDI. I've got a data MIDI generator, so we can generate.
To go in the clip in Live
directly
12.
in the clip.
Yes.
In Live 12.
And I did already think of this, honestly.
And when I did that,
it's like there was all these new MIDI things in Live 12, and I know it's open to Max for Live development. There's already Max for Live devices in there.
Yeah.
And I was like, ding, Noah's got to fit in there somewhere, right? Because with all this powerful work you're doing with data and MIDI and, well, just MIDI and all these cool devices, it would totally make sense to have it here in the clip.
And yeah, I'm really excited to get it fully working properly. As soon as I generated it, Live's engine decided to quit. But one thing that's really cool with having it as a MIDI generator is that we can have the rate change. So we get shorter notes and longer notes depending on the data value.
I see.
Which is something a couple users had requested, but due to basically, textbook time machine paradoxes, it's very difficult, even with multiple clocks, to get that behavior working as you would want, as it's running in real time. But since the MIDI generator is offline, I can zoom in on the MIDI clip. Live is responsive there, but the transport is...
Okay, we're going to wrap it up soon. I want to not forget this question that we had from Low Res. Can the data content be changed or randomized with modulation automation?
Now Live 12. Hey, congratulations, team. We did it. We broke
Live 12. Oh, you crashed the beta.
We've got the spinning ball. Well, it took a lot of experimental Max for Live stuff to get it there. So
pushing boundaries. That's what we do here.
Exactly. It'll be all tidied up. Can you modulate the data? No, you cannot. So
but you
the data,
can modulate what controls the output of the data.
That's right. Yeah. So you can modulate the data via transposition coming in, but you can't modulate individual data points within the sequence.
That seems like it would be incredibly complicated to do.
For something like that, you'd be better off just using a more traditional sequencer that can receive modulation on those inputs. But everything else can be modulated in real time. The data is something you input and you can edit. You can go and change data values just by...
You could use the data to modulate sequencer steps.
You definitely could.
Good God.
You definitely could. You definitely could.
Planetary orbits controlling sequences would be interesting. Like modifying sequences.
Oh yeah, that's going to be your next album.
Okay, let's do it.
Album. Or a future lesson. But yeah, the planetary one, the Solaris, is free. So if people want to get all spacey with it, that could be a good option.
I haven't even, I just realized I knew about it and I got distracted and didn't download it yet. Thank you for the reminder because I love that concept.
Awesome.
It's because I went to a Waldorf school.
Well, I thought what I wanted to do, the challenge, right, was, okay, fine, you have some sine waves that are like loosely corresponding to these rates of orbits and rotations, but I wanted them all to remain relative, to remain in the relative scale. So it's a solar system with emphasis on system, because the systems thinking part of it is what got me as excited, if not more excited, than the outer space part, which is, of course, also always fun.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I think we covered a lot of ground, and, cool that we went over a little bit so we could squeeze in all this extra stuff and the questions and everything. Thank you very much again for being a very interesting and informative guest on the show. It was really cool. I just want to thank everybody for watching today. All of the new viewers that were here, awesome. Glad to have you. Please come back. I'll remind all of you to please check out what 343 Labs has on offer. You know where to look in the description below. We've got links to everything. I'm going to plug my Making Techno course one more time. I'm going to tease you with the idea of maybe doing a Making Electro course at some point. I know we've had a few people sort of chime in and say they'd be into that. So let us know. Reach out to us. You can always call us or email us and ask us what's going on. And we've got info about everything on the website. So one last thank you to Noah. Really great to see you. Really great hanging out. Have a good holiday time out there with your family and everything. And to all of you, the same. This is our last stream for the year. So thanks to everybody who's been following along all year. Really, really happy about the community. The feedback session we did last time was awesome. Really looking forward to doing more of those, and other new ideas and things that we can have fun with doing in the coming year. So have a good one, everybody. See you next year.
Be well. Happy holidays. All the best for 2024.
All right. Where's the button? See ya.
The sun.